So good evening. Thank you all for coming. It's been an interesting journey here. We started last evening. This weekend is on mental health. Our health emphasis is on mental health. And yesterday we spoke a bit what is depression and anxiety, the causes, how to help with them. I'm popping here. I've also been, I've been told my voice drops down. So if you don't hear me, can you give me a cue? I gotta speak up here. Going back, we talked about depression and anxiety and also grief, how grief is affected. And Mary spoke on dealing through grief and just some personal experiences she had, and was very valuable information. So tonight what I'd like to speak on is another topic, which is dementia or Alzheimer's, and it's a growing concern, as is depression in the world. And I just wanted to, there's hope with it too. I mean, I have family members that are dealing with it, and they're not all here, or family, family friends who are dealing with it, and it seems like a hopeless situation often, but it isn't. There is a lot of hope with that as well. And then ending with how we can optimize our brain, how we can work better. It's more of a positive and a fun ending here today. So why don't we just start with prayer? Oh, dear Heavenly Father, we just appreciate having a Sabbath day. We appreciate being able to rest and to be able to spend time with you and to be rejuvenized by you, because you've promised that on our Sabbath day. So thank you for that. And today, Lord, as we have our speech or the presentation today and our topics on mental health, I just pray, Lord, that you would give me the words and the calmness to be able to express what you would like us to know, and to give us the hope that you have, because you want us to be happy. You want us to experience heaven on earth at first before we head to heaven there. So please be with us tonight, Lord, and please bless us, and I ask this in your precious name. Amen. Okay. So just a little bit of statistics. I was really surprised when I was looking into this. I am interested in the brain, like I said last time, partly because it's part of my work, and I enjoy developmental psychology and just the neuro part of the brain, how it works, because I've worked with stroke victims and head injury, and I've also worked with people with dementia, and so it's been an interest of mine just to see what we can do, because often, like I said, it's pretty hopeless. You try kind of minimal things, but research now is showing that it's better, a better prognosis on things. So just a bit of stats here. Depression and dementia have both increased greatly over the last generation. Although depression is far more prevalent than dementia, in 2020, there's 55 million people worldwide who are living with dementia. So that's pretty high as well. This figure is projected to double every 20 years. This increase in prevalence of dementia is also associated with a large financial burden. The global cost of dementia is now above $1.3 trillion a year, and is projected to rise $2.8 trillion annually by 2030. So it's a declining, it's a serious thing. And dementia also causes more deaths than breast and prostate cancer combined, and is now the 7th leading cause of death in America. One out of every 3 deaths in seniors is from dementia. So it is something that is growing. And depression is considered a psychiatric disease, which means it is diagnosed by a constellation of symptoms and not through objective pathological testing. So it doesn't have necessarily the scientific testing behind it, but it's more of a diagnosis with, sorry, I'm going to go back here. Just, depression, we have various, it's diagnosed through all of these objective pathological testing, whereas dementia can have really scientific brain biopsies, vascular disease, and MRIs and things where you can tell for testing it. Okay, so I'm just going to, hopefully this works here, it does. So what I'd like to talk about today is going to be understanding dementia, depression, Alzheimer's, and cognitive decline, and identifying the causes that contribute to cognitive decline and steps we can take to help slow it down. Let's just go on here. Okay, so as we talked here, just the term dementia is a term used for several diseases. It's kind of the umbrella term that's used to talk about diseases that affect the memory or thinking or the ability to do daily life. And there's often a mental and a cognitive decline in that. You could have mild dementia, or it could be more severe, that if the mild, you don't even notice it happens. You yourself are probably aware of that. But the severe one is where you really need help with daily life. It used to be that dementia affected people, that it was considered something that affected older people, if you're over 65. But nowadays you can get it when you're 40 or younger than that. But also, it's not a disease that is that will come to everybody that's getting older. It's not an old age disease. It comes to just some people, which again says it's not a process of aging, right? It's something that comes on to us. It's a progressive illness, and it can get worse with time. And it's a group of symptoms that cause a physical abnormal changes in the brain. So it's something that happens. So I mentioned there are different types of, dementia is sort of an umbrella, and there are some dementias that are affected or a result of some physical disabilities, like a vascular dementia, which, can you guys read that if it's not too light? Okay, it affects the blood flow into the brain. It can come after a stroke or various things like that. Parkinson's disease is dementia also, which is also a progressive disorder. You may get other things in there like confusion, agitation, and memory loss with that. There's a frontal temporal dementia. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's associated with changes in the personality and changes with speech. Lewy body dementia, and this includes erratic movements and sleep problems. I'm just going through these quickly just to see in case you've heard them. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't pass that one. And Huntington's disease also can create dementia, causes changes in the brain, and mixed dementia, which is so common with, I think, different disorders, I guess, in our bodies. You know, sometimes it's not clear cut as one, but there could be several different conditions that combine together to make this dementia. But the one that's the most common and that we'll probably consider most this evening is Alzheimer's. And we hear that a lot about Alzheimer's. And it's the most common form of dementia. Out of the dementias, 80% of them are Alzheimer's. They could be, it's a decline in mental ability that can interfere with daily life, of course. Also, I notice here Down syndromes and Alzheimer's disease can go together with that. The syndrome of Down syndrome, the mind changes as the people get older, as they age. Okay, so what are some of the factors that contribute to Alzheimer's? So research is showing that symptoms are caused by an influence of one thing or multiple things that collectively cause symptoms. Sometimes it occurs within minutes or hours after exposure. So this was really interesting to me, this fact that I found, that it can be outside influences that are creating it, right? It's not, and it could be one thing that affects the brain, or it could be many different particles that are causing that. Doesn't that sound very similar to what happened to depression? Well, we talked about depression, right? More than one thing will influence it. So given that there are things, and I'll talk about that, it could be exposure, to environmental things. We'll talk about that a bit more, but given that it depends on what is influencing our brain, that means it could be turned off and on. You can go up and down, you can activate it and deactivate it. And I think that's really encouraging to hear that. And it all depends on the sum of exposure, how much exposure we have. So things like environment, foods, drinks, even what you say, what you hear, and think can also be things that can affect the Alzheimer's. Some dementia symptoms can be temporary, as we said before, and some of them are more permanent, depending on the exposure that we have. Okay, so we talked a lot about depression, and it's interesting that it's kind of coming along in a lot of other areas. And so I want to just talk about depression and dementia, and are they related? Because both of them have a significant increase in our society now. So they're two different diseases, but are they linked? There was a study, a Swedish research study done on 12,000 men and women with severe depression. And it was a longitudinal study, and they studied for 35 years. And what they found out was, just the results were that people with depression had twofold chance of developing dementia. So depression has an influence on the dementia. And they also said they were testing siblings. So one had depression, the other one didn't. And again, it was a higher, 50% chance, I believe is what I read, 50% chance higher of that one sibling with depression to develop dementia. So they are connected that way, even though they are quite different. Okay, depression and dementia links. There's many identical risk factors for both of them. And that's the oxidized, and this is our diet, right? The oxidized LDL, or the lousy cholesterol that in the body. Hypertension or high blood pressure also can contribute to it. And adverse metabolic causes like diabetes, obesity, smoking, physical inactivity, and the risk of depression and dementia. So again, so similar to what we talked about yesterday, right, about the depression. What are some of the goals for Alzheimer's? I was reading a book, I don't know if you've read or heard of Dr. Wes Youngberg. He does a lot of holistic approach to health, as well as other he's using that a lot, lifestyle and holistic approaches to improving health. And he was talking about a patient of his where his wife, they were married 35 some years. I think she's 65 years old, but she had lost her ability to recognize her husband, anything. She couldn't take care of herself. She couldn't do everything. She could hear if they were telling her to do something, she would go and do it, but she couldn't do anything. And but through the process of what he suggested, they were able to reverse even that part of the that part of Alzheimer's and to have it to be a little bit more functional. So the goal for Alzheimer's would be to slowing down, and then the next step would be is we could try to stop it, and then it's also looking at trying to reverse the aspects of cognitive decline, and that's even possible if with some of these physicians that are able to do that, even up to 80% of the people that have been worked on were able to improve somewhat. But the best thing to do is to be able to have prevention, is to be able to prevent it and catch it early enough. Okay. Some things we could do is just test for cognitive impairment, just to see if you're feeling that, or if you think, oh, my memory's kind of going, I'm not doing this really well. It's just to test have a test. There are tests online where you can see, just to see is there a decline or how this, or am I showing any signs, and just keeping monitoring on that. Okay. There are a lot of other things that can influence depression as well. Alzheimer's, and these are just some of the lists that we had. There's some of them that are very important, like thyroid function, hormones, overall inflammation of the body, which affects the brain, blood sugar levels, magnesium, insulin resistance as well. So what can we do to improve our mental health? Diet, nutrition is very important. We want to eat a lot of foods that have antioxidants. A diet that is higher in omega-3 is very good. We'll talk about foods that are part of that. You can also get supplements with that. Controlling blood pressure. The ideal is to be at 115 and over 80. So you want to do that. And cholesterol, lowering our cholesterol. This is all healthy food. Again, we've talked about this, but it's cutting out saturated fats and replacing some of the coconut oil and palm oils with some natural kind of oils, like the nut oils, like almonds, walnut, pecans oils. Want to reduce, have lower sodium so that we don't, if it affects your blood pressure, that would be good. And staying on a plant-based omega fatty acid. I know there's the fish omega-3 that people take a lot, but nowadays that eating fish is not as good because of the mercury content in fish, and that can cause a lot of toxicity in our body. Okay, so what is important, those are some factors we want to look at, but when we are considering it in our loved ones or somebody we want to help out, we want to find out what the factors are. We want to be specific and find out what the factors are that are causing the problem for the mental decline. And we've given some ideas of the tests and different things that you can do with that. And then we'd want to try to remove these factors from their life so that their brain can improve. And then find factors that can neutralize or reverse the demontogen effects in their brains. As I'm studying this and reading this, I'm just thinking what an amazing body God has given us, what amazing brain we have, that even though we've been here 6,000 some years and we're declining, but yet God's made us so we can be resilient and we can improve. It's amazing to me. You guys are putting pressure on me. Okay, what can we do to prevent or reverse mental health decline? Exercise is very important. Dr. Youngberg was saying that a lot of his clients, because of this insulin resistance, and that's because of a lot of sugar and a lot of work that the insulin is working on, there's a insulin resistance there, and that applying some of the diabetics programs, Diabetic Undone program that we have here with our church is very valuable. It's that walking and it's eating properly, and if we can follow that, that's a very helpful thing for this. And exercising 30 minutes, 4 to 6 times every week is very important as well. As we're seeing, exercise is good for everything. Okay, this is where I was saying the insulin resistance problem is when carbohydrates and processed foods are used, too much used. And if we can kind of go back to, if it's simple to go back to the recipes or the programs that the diabetics are using to be able to undo it and to reverse that diabetic 3. All right. Just some other thoughts that are given us as for diet is increasing fruits and vegetables, eliminating simple carbs and processed foods, eliminating gluten, reducing stress, increasing our sleep to 7 to 8 hours, and then taking some supplements like 1,000 micrograms of vitamin B12. These are what I'm naming right now are factors that Dr. West Youngberg had said. He just listed general ones in his book, but these are the ones that he found very helpful. So, upping our vitamin B12, our sleep, vitamin D, increasing that as well, keeping oral hygiene consistently. For some women, this could be very helpful. Is also hormone replacement therapy, and also intermittent 12-hour fasting. Okay, so those are like the physical things that we can help. And then to improve our brain function, also we want to keep our mind active. And we want to learn, maybe you want to learn a new language or pick up a new hobby or a new skill. Like keep your brains progressing and learning things. Oh, sorry, didn't read the second part. Decreasing and eliminating TV. Like I mentioned yesterday, the TV, when we're watching certain, screen is bad, but watching TV where movies, especially movies and certain programs where the scenes change every 3 or 4 seconds, that's very hard on your brain. It actually kind of starts shutting your brain down. You don't want to watch that. So if you're watching like, I know there's 3ABN where you're just watching a panel, or there's, or watching that, that's not the same kind of process, but it's that fast pace of the TV that's bad. And there's a 1.3% increased risk of Alzheimer's for every hour spent watching TV. So we don't want to, if we can avoid that, that's way better. Okay, again, prioritizing more of aerobic exercises, especially aerobic, that movement is where you want to get the blood into your brain and to go. So you want to do that. Okay, reduce stress. Documents relationships between stress. There's documented relationships between stress and increased risk of cognitive impairment and dementia. So stress, that's one I really have to work on. So it's hard nowadays to do that, but that's good. Oh, sorry, last one here, get it wrong. And the other thing is prevention, right? We want to, if you can catch it early or prevent it from happening, I think it's more of a concern if you know it's something genetic in your family, or something developmental that you've been creating. So if you know you're more of at risk for that, or some illness that you're at risk for that, I would keep an eye on that, so to preventing it. Okay. I've just included some resources like I did last time. This is where I've gotten a lot of my information. Just the Goodbye Diabetes, prevention and reversing diabetes the natural way, the Diabetes Undone, also these are all by Dr. Wes Youngbird, and then the Memory Makeover is also by him. Okay. Dr. Wes Youngbird says, those who search hard for answers to their health challenges are the ones most likely to succeed. There is scientific research, and we've, as a church, have been blessed with a lot of this information way back when Ellen White gave it to us, but it's coming out into the sciences now. But it's so powerful, and it's very helpful for individuals who are going through these. There's hope, I guess, if you're going through hard times, that there is ways of either slowing it down or stopping it and even reversing it and having it come. Okay, is there any questions on that at all? Because I'm going to switch to something more fun. Yes? Do pets help is the question. Anything as far as dementia? Yeah. Yeah, I don't have research on that, but I know they do have pet therapies, right? Dogs that go into the hospitals and help it. But I think, okay, this is an I think, but just from some of the research here, I think socializing and being with these people is very important, and having something like a pet or an animal, something alive, is very important. I think that could really help. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. Any?
Having children, bring children into your life. It's like having a pet or having a children. And some of these seniors that are in seniors' homes, and all of a sudden children go there and they sing and they visit and they give a card. I think that really affects the development of the brain.
Development of the brain. And I think that's partly helping the depression part of that dementia part, I think, right? And that gives you reason to work and to your brain to keep going. Otherwise, it shuts down. Yeah, I think so. Yes?
Is it considered normal
That's a good question. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the question is it possible to have full? Oh, is it considered normal? Sorry, is it considered normal to have full mental ability till you die? I think that's how God intended it, but I don't know. You hear. I don't know I don't know the statistics on this. I know somebody might know, but I know you do hear people that say, they were sharp as a button until they passed away. They were. So I think it is. I think it can be as long as there's an other disease or anything else that influences it. It's my thought. Or my thought. I should look it up though. Anything? Any other questions? Comments? Okay. Okay, well, thank you. That was very good. Thank you. It's becoming. I'm just going to ask Rob to switch there it is. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more, this is a little bit more fun for me, and I'm glad you guys are here, you young ones. Glad you came. I'm just going to talk a little bit about just the potential of our brain, just how we can optimize it. And I'm really excited about this because I've seen it happen, and I'm hearing stories about it, and it intrigues me immensely. I'm going to tell you a story of a situation that this was in New York State, and there was a community there. It was it was more on the ends of a slums. There was kind of a low economic area. And kids were just kind of running around. There wasn't a lot happening with the kids because a lot of the parents had to work. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity for them to learn, extracurricular activities. They didn't have a lot of good meals often. They'd eat Twinkies, chocolate bars, chips, drank pop a lot. So it wasn't really a good situation like this. And in school, there was a teacher at that school who noticed, he just came there and he noticed that the kids were doing lousy. When they did their government testing, they were the worst. They had the lowest grade. And when they looked at the stats, they were the lowest of all of them. And so he thought, he did some research, and he thought, what would happen if I implemented exercise? And so he got these kids, it was an experiment, but he got these kids each a heart monitor. The kids were not, generally they were not in good shape. They were overweight, some of them. Couldn't move, couldn't walk very far or anything. Their heart rate was really quite bad. And so he got them a heart rate monitor, and he had them do 1 or 2 laps every day. And what the point for them was, because they were all in different physical levels, they had to reach a certain heart rate, their own personal heart rate, and then gradually they would improve in this. And his aim was to do this every day, that they'd have to go run around the track every day. And then following that, they went back into class and they had their schooling, which was math. They usually had math right after this. And so he did this for a while, and he started noticing that their grades were getting better. They were remembering things better, and their grades were getting better. There was more of an interest in learning, and soon he got them involved in competitions with other schools within just their classroom, within their community there. There was another school they were competing with, and they didn't do too bad, and they started getting better, and they got top on that. Soon they were competing around for the whole, with the same age group around the whole city, and then again they were winning, and then it went their state, and then national-wise they were competing, and they were coming on top, and then they went international. And this was math, which is kind of the reasoning, the frontal brain, where the frontal brain experiences that. And these kids came from nothing to, with no motivation, no nothing, to accomplishing all these things and becoming internationally top-notch in knowledge. And this was all to do with the exercise. He did the exercise, and right after the exercise, 15 minutes after, they would go into learning. So the brain functions so much better if we take our breaks to have some exercise. And Ellen White says this. She says, always take breaks, take a break. Don't always work, right? Don't put too many hours in. Take your break. You need that. And just the performance level and how quickly you can do things is incredible, which is a story. I have one more story that I was super impressed with. I went down to see Dr. Nedley's EQ summit where he talks about different things. And there was a woman there. Her name was, got to get her name properly here, Barbara Aerosmith Young. Have you guys heard of her at all? No? She was born with a cognitive and learning disability. And she was born in 1951, a Canadian lady. And her disability was that she had spatial perception difficulties. She and her brain, she just had a hard time learning. She would walk and not be able to figure out where half of her body was. So she would be walking into another room or by the table, and she would hit her arm on there because she didn't realize that her arm was even there. Like she just didn't have the perception to know that, and she would just be hitting it. It was kind of really bad. And her mom took her to as many professionals as she could to try to get this figured out, and they said there's really nothing we can do about this. But the mom, she was very persistent, and she said, I'm going to do something about this. And she worked with her daughter. She worked every day significantly with her brain, with figuring out where she was at and moving forward. And this Barbara, she improved slowly and gradually, but she really improved in her knowledge and her abilities. And she was able to get a PhD in education from this, and she started her own school here in Canada. There's one in Toronto and Vancouver, where she also works and understands other brains that don't work properly. The point again is just how magnificent our brain is and what potential we have. Sometimes we don't always learn the same way, but there's different ways of reaching our brain, and that we can learn, and we are not to give up. I don't think we should give up. Okay, so optimizing our brain. The mind of a prudent is ever getting knowledge, and the ear of the wise is ever seeking, inquiring for and craving knowledge. Okay, so you've heard of IQ, I'm sure, right? Yeah, have you heard of EQ? No? Emotional quotient, no? Okay, thanks you guys. Okay, so I'm going to talk about these two things today, and they're both really important for us to have success. And the great thing is it doesn't matter what age we are, we can always improve. So intelligence is the capacity to learn, to retain, and to apply knowledge. So this is what we need for school, right? When we're learning things, we want to remember what we're taught, and we want to be able to apply them. An IQ score is determined, you've heard of that, right? What is your IQ score? IQ score is determined by one's performance on a standardized intelligence test. That is good, but it's these tests are not always perfect. They're not always perfect when we do that. Because they often are looking at what has been taught in academic performance. So it's not a really good indicator of intelligence. So what is IQ good for? The first job out of college is related to IQ, but how far one advances in his job is more related to one's EQ, or their emotional quotient. I'm going to change this here. A higher intelligence gives a longevity advantage. So if you do have a good IQ, and it's good to have a good IQ, a strong IQ, you tend to live longer. So it's a positive thing. We want to do that. Emotional quotient is a measure of a person's adequacy in understanding emotions of yourself and others, and responding to those emotions in a healthier way. And that's kind of like social skills, right? It's improving our social skills and being able to relate to them. Okay, we're going to just talk about those a bit. I wanted just to talk about a few myths and truths or facts about intelligence, just to give us hope here. Genetics is all that matters. That's a myth. If we're looking at intelligence and how, some people are saying, no, I won't. There's no point in trying to get smarter now. I got what I got, and this is just the way it is. But it's not true, because the genetics, there are many factors that contribute to intelligence, and genetics is just one of them. Okay, some say, well, I'm more than 18 years old now, so I guess I can't learn. But that's not true either. Nothing will change. I'm sorry. But that's not true either, because there are ways you can raise your IQ at any age. It's just about learning new things. Some people think that, well, being highly educated means that people that are highly educated are quite irritable to be around, so I don't think I want to be a highly educated person. But the truth is that people that are high, medium, or low intelligent, they can all be irritating to be around sometime, right? Yeah. Okay. People who are highly intelligent lack common sense. They say they're just book people. They don't have any common sense, but that's not true either, because they can be more focused on an activity, but that doesn't mean they often have more common sense. Okay, it's a good thing. And you can't improve your intelligence, so why even bother putting any effort into it or trying it? But actually, you can improve intelligence, and it's worth the effort to do that as well. Okay. Just going to go in here. So just some things that can impair just to let you know, some things that can impair or compromise our frontal lobe, because that's where a lot of our decisions and our academics and all happens through that part, right? So something to keep in mind that we want to stay away from would be impairment of moral principles. If we don't have a good frontal lobe, we'll be impaired in our moral principles, our will, our ability to make decisions that way. There's social impairment. You might lose the love of your family or friends, people that you used to be friends with. A lack of oversight, of the ability to kind of predict what's going to happen or just see the big picture on things. Abstract reasoning impairment. If you're thinking of going into academics or school, that's going to be a problem. Math or sciences, those are hard. Mathematical understanding is hard. Loss of empathy and lack of restraint. There tends to be more boasting, hostility, and loss of temper when that happens. These are characteristics that I don't know if we really want to have. I don't want to do it. And again, I'm going to go through this very quickly, but these are, again, the same thing that is important for overall body health is also important for our brain and depression that we talked about last time. So again, eating a lot of fruits and vegetables and nuts and whole grains. Sometimes people say not to, new researchers saying don't go whole grain, but there is something in the whole grain that is really important for our brain. So if we can do that and there's no allergy, that's a good thing to do. Omitting sugars, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but arachidonic acid. It's an acid that's put into processed foods. Okay, alcohol and junk foods to decrease that. Increasing omega-3, plant-based, that's the DHA. Again, saying the other option we have is to go fish-based, but it used to be okay to do that, but now there's such a high level of mercury in fish that you want to be careful with that. Again, physical exercise. Another thing that I learned through this is working with your hands is really important. Sometimes we think that the blue-collar group of people aren't doing, it's a blue-collar group and we're not intelligent. I didn't say that properly, but sometimes they're put down, I guess I'm trying to say. But it's really important to do things with your hands. Even consistent things like washing dishes on a regular basis or knitting or doing anything with your hands. There's a part behind your frontal lobe that is stimulated when we do things with our hands. So it is important. I mean, I think even working with a computer, sometimes, writing is much better for memory and to work things. So you want to incorporate that into your life to make it a lot easier. And I just have some ideas here. Just a sec here. Let me look here. Yeah, just some of the ideas that you can do is things like knitting or quilting or flying a kite. There's lots of sports things, or ping pong or racquetball, or cooking or baking, drawing or painting, music, playing different musical instruments, trumpet, piano, recorder, or hobbies like photography or woodwork, massage, flower arranging. Any of these things that work your hands a lot are really, really helpful. Okay, did I miss a spot here? I did. Okay, these are some of the foods that we touched on these already, but that are really important. And these are very important nutrients that we need for our brain to function more optimally. Okay, tryptophan is very important to convert serotonin into melatonin and niacin. And the foods, they seem to be a kind of a group of foods, but pumpkin seeds, seaweed, spirulina, which is also seaweed, and chia seeds, they're important. You want to do triosine. That's important also. Folate, and eating lentils and pinto beans. It's important to look at your iron level, especially for women. It's low in then thiamine, choline, and betaine. Those are all really important ones that you want to take a look at. Okay, things that can help us, character connections that can help us reach our full potential also are these. And if your brain is functioning better, we can do that. But it's to be curious, to be interested in learning new things and investigating something new. Maybe if you're on a trip, looking at the map, maybe trying to figure out how things are working. I didn't put this on here, but love of learning, I missed that. Wanting to learn something new, that stimulates your brain. Being creative, maybe taking something that is old and putting it and making it into a new way. Being hopeful, being very optimistic and hopeful is good. Self-control, it's being the ability to keep ourselves from acting on our behavior and emotional impulses, and regulating what one feels and does. Being grateful, gratitude is huge. It's just writing down, having a journal and writing down what am I grateful for. Kindness, having kindness towards others. Social intelligence, acting wisely in human relationships. That's the EQ there. Leadership, a process of social influence in which one person can enlist and help others and support them. Perseverance or long-suffering. I think I have to change this. And the sense of purpose, I think, is really important as well. And this will give you all wisdom. A lot of these points here are similar to the fruits of the Spirit as well, aren't they? They're things that God has given us. Okay. I just wanted to, last night, I don't have slides for this, but I just want to talk about the EQ, a little bit more about our EQ and what emotional intelligence is and how do we get that. And I'm sorry I don't have slides for this, but there are 5 main components to have emotional intelligence. And the first one is knowing and understanding our own emotions. What am I feeling? If we're in a situation, we want to feel like, what am I feeling? Am I angry here? Am I tired? What's making me feel? What am I feeling here? And then when we realize what our emotions are, then we want to be able to manage our emotions. Then once we can do that, then in a situation, we want to recognize somebody else's emotions. If we're recognize what other people, we're in a situation, it's a big conflict or a big battle, we want to stop and think, okay, what's going on here? What's this person feeling? And then we want to try to manage that relationship and motivating ourselves to achieve our goals. That'll get us to that point as well. Okay. I spoke yesterday a little bit about also the cognitive behavior, no, therapy is what I want to talk about today, but our thinking patterns. I said yesterday that anxiety is created by an imbalance, like a biochemical imbalance in our brain, but it's also related to, but the next thing is that we have faulty or our thinking is distorted, cognitive distortion in our thinking. And I wanted to just to go over some of these and just to see if you can recognize any of these, because if we can change these, make these better, it's going to be for our better in that term. I mentioned before also that our the order in which we react to things, or what causes us to feel, it's the order such something happens, and then we have a belief system about that, and then after that we have feeling. We feel this way. Often we think, well, this happened, this person's not talking to me, so I'm very upset with that person, and I'm gone. And so we think that first our feeling comes and then our behavior comes. But actually what happens is somebody does something to me, then I think, oh, I have to think, well, in my belief system for me getting mad is this person is trying to be revengeful to me, or this person is trying to, is very rude, or I come up with these decisions, and then after that my reaction, my feeling comes up, right? Where really, if I could stop and think, I think, okay, this happened. Okay, this person's upset with me. I wonder what's going on. Maybe that person just lost a parent. Maybe that person something happened in their life, right? We need to, and it's just in situation. So if we can change our thinking, say, well, maybe something happened in this person's life, and then my feelings toward that will be different. And that can save us a lot of emotional problems or anger, I think, that way as well. Okay, I wanted to go over, there are 5 different cognitive distortion, different ways of thinking, and I just want you don't have to tell me, but think about, does this ever happen to you? One is called all or nothing thinking. That's where there is no in between. It's completely one way or the other. For example, my friend doesn't agree with me on this issue, so he's completely non-supportive. That's it, I'm not going to be with him. Or you see somebody, a guy or a girl there, and you like him, and you say, ooh, that person's perfect. She's perfect for me. It's a perfect one. And when we know that there could be some parts there that aren't always perfect, right, in all of us. The person is either ugly or pretty. The person is either dumb or intelligent. Like it's one or the other. There's not a range in there. The results of all or nothing thinking could be because of maybe we have low self-esteem. We could be procrastinating. It interferes with our goals, frustration, pessimism, discouragement. All these things could come as a result in that. Do any of you guys have all or nothing thinking? Or is it just me? You do? Good, thank you. There are no slides. I am sorry. That would be good. I'm sorry. The other one is overgeneralizing, or generalization. That is where we're using, we see a situation and everybody's like that. Like if I could say, I was going to use one of these things that's using one fact to make a whole belief, like to say, well, I had some kids come over and I say, well, all kids have muddy shoes, so I can't let them in. Or we're saying, oh, everybody, I'm going to use Slovenians, all the Slovenians talk too much, I'm not going to invite any Slovenians over. Or we're going to say, it's just making an overall generalization, which isn't truth most of the time, right? So that could cause a problem as well. Another one is mental filtering. Number 3 is mental filtering. That could be something like thinking, this happened to me, I would like to have a vehicle, a certain kind of vehicle. I have something in mind, I need good mileage, I'd like something with an SUV so I can carry things. I'd like to have room where I can carry my bikes on there. I'd like to have that, and they need to have red seats on there. And if I go through this and I find the exact car I wanted, and actually there's even extra things on there. I've got racks up on top. I've got, they made it's a sports version, so all the seats are leather and stuff. But you know what? It's not red, so I can't take it as well. So it's kind of like thinking, oh, everything is good, but but I don't have this one thing, so I don't think that's going to work for me, so I can't do it. Dr. Nedley told a story about him and his about his wife, now his present wife, but they were dating when they were in university, and they worked together really well. He said they because they both had the same vision of work and health and ministry and stuff, and they got along really, really well. But he said to her one time, "I'm sorry, we can't do this anymore. We better break up." And so they broke up after 4 years or 5 years of dating or being together. And somebody asked him, "So why aren't you with Erica anymore?" He says, "Well, you know what? I'm not feeling that spark I'm supposed to be feeling. I think I'm supposed to be feeling that spark." And so his friend, who was married 10 years or something, says, "It isn't always there. But you guys can still be good friends." So it was just kind of removing it might not be the truthful part of it. And the other one is disqualifying the positive. This is, I'm thinking of an incident where, if somebody might want to go skiing and they're just really gung-ho on skiing, they really want to go, their friends wanting them to go, they said, "I'll teach you how to go." But this one particular person is kind of nervous about going. And he knows, though, if he goes, he's got friends that'll help him. He knows that they can get ski pass that's very cheap. He knows he can get tickets, the equipment for free. Like, there's a lot of really positive reasons why he should go. But he says, but we come up with an excuse. "No, I think I'm going to fall. I think it'll get too wet. It might be too cold." So we're trying to think of something negative so that we don't accept all the good parts that's a possibility of our parts, our thing. So if we can think about all these different patterns that we think of, there's other ones. There's like mind reading and jumping to conclusions. Sometimes we might think, "I know what that person's going to say. I know what they're going to do, so I don't think I'm going to even ask him." Research has even showed that even husbands or wife who think they can predict what their husband or wife is going to do, their partner is going to do, they're only like 60% correct. Even somebody you think because we don't know necessarily. There's fortune telling, saying, "Well, if I go, I think if I'm going to go to that party tonight, I know nobody's going to talk to me, so I won't even bother going." We don't know that for sure if that's going to happen. We can make a problem bigger or smaller. We can sort of dislabel different problems. Crooked thinking, dislabeling, trying to make a different. We can label ourselves by saying, "Oh, I'm so unorganized," or I'm always late, or I'm always this, I'm always that. And if we think that way, we can start. It'll become part of us. Kind of do it. So I just encourage you to think of all these things. If you guys want copies of some of these things I don't have slides for, I'd be happy to get them for you. But I'm sorry I didn't have them. But I'm just thrilled at what God has given us, and that He wants us to be the best we can be, and He wants us to perform. He wants us to be physically well. He wants us to achieve in life. He wants us to be the light of the world with the knowledge that He's giving us. And one of the verses I really like in Jeremiah 29:11-13 is, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for welfare and not for harm, to give you a future with hope. Then when you call upon me and come and pray to me, I will hear you. When you search for me, you will find me, when you seek me with all your heart." I believe the Lord wants us to be healthy, happy, and very successful in everything we do. And He's giving us a lot of opportunity and a guidebook to be able to do that. So thank you for listening. Thank you for staying. Any questions along this line? There's a lot of information. Sorry. You good? Okay. We'll just close with prayer then. Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we just want to say thank you so much for our wonderful brain and bodies that you've given us, the health you've given us, even with all the diseases and different things that are coming by, Lord, you're so able to. We're so able to be to reverse things and to be healthy. And we pray that we can accept what you've given to us and apply them and use them. Lord, I just ask you bless everyone here and ask that you would be with those that aren't and watching online as well, Lord, and may we be healthier and happier this coming week. I ask this and pray this in your precious name. Amen. I just have to say one more thing about our next, our next health essential program will be March 9th, which is in 2 weeks, and it's going to be it's going to be talking about foods and a cooking demo. So we're going to have some samples and cooking demos. So that's going to be on Sunday, and it's going to be at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So just keep that in mind. There'll be a lot of posters out, and we'll just need to have you sign up so we'll know how many to make as well. Okay, thank you. Enjoy your evening.